Stunning secret revealed, housekeeper's amazing connection with Russian guest changes everything. Maria moved tirelessly through the sparkling marble halls of the stately home, mopping the floors until they glinted like glass. Each stroke of her mop was infused with a dream for her children, a dream of breaking the chains of poverty. The aroma of tamales wafted through her small kitchen, an embrace of home amidst the opulence that surrounded her. Laughter from family gatherings echoed in her mind as she daydreamed about a brighter future, one that felt just out of reach. It was during one of those long days that Ivan entered her life like a sudden breeze on a scorching summer day. A strikingly handsome Russian businessman with a heavy heart and a troubled past, he arrived for a high-stakes conference. Maria's world, filled with the mundane tasks of housekeeping, shifted at the sight of his genuine smile amid the chaos of the affluent household. The air was thick with unspoken emotions as their eyes met across the kitchen, setting ablaze a spark of connection. Over cups of freshly brewed coffee, they shared snippets of their lives. Maria talked about her children, about the struggles and triumphs woven into her journey. Ivan shared tales of his sacrifices and losses back home, their shared laughter and somber moments creating an unexpected bond that felt as fragile as it was vivid. But the undercurrents of their connection didn't go unnoticed. The family that employed Maria eyed Ivan with suspicion, fostering an atmosphere of judgment and disapproval. "Keep your distance," they warned her, their voices dripping with authority. Torn between the loyalty she owed to her employer and a budding friendship with Ivan, her heart ached. Acceptance beckoned her, yet opportunity danced before her, teasing the edges of her dreams. In the heart of the community, a fundraiser sparkled with glitz but was tinged with darkness. Rude remarks surfaced, revealing the prejudices that festered under the surface. Maria stood up for Ivan, her voice cutting through the polite murmurs. "We all have our battles," she shouted, the truth spilling from her like a torrent. Her story, filled with courage and vulnerability, resonated with those around her, igniting a dialogue about the biases that chained them all in silence. But standing tall came with a price. Anger erupted among the neighbors, swirling accusations that made her family recoil in fear. They worried about losing their stability, the safety Maria had fought so hard to create. "You can't speak like this," they insisted, worry etched into their faces. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. With her heart racing and tension rising, Maria felt the weight of the crowd bearing down on her. What if I don't have a voice to lift? She thought, as the murmurs crescendoed and eyes surrounded her. Would she stand her ground, risking everything for her friendship with Ivan? Or would she succumb to the pressure, burying the truth beneath a facade of acceptance? The town held its breath, and the moment stretched, poised to change lives forever. The crowd's murmurs echoed in Maria's ears, a commotion of fear and disbelief, as if they were all waiting for her to falter. She felt the burning heat of their stares, and for a split second, doubt crept in. But the memory of her children's laughter, the promise of a better life, fueled the defiance swelling inside her. She couldn't turn away now. "I want to be silenced." Her voice rang out again, more powerful and clear, shattering the veil of apprehension that cloaked the gathering. Faces shifted, surprised, some nodding, as if her boldness ignited a long-forgotten sense of shared struggle. "You all know what it's like," she continued, heart pounding like a drum. "To face judgment, to feel the weight of expectations. We are more than our roles, our pasts, our labels." The crowd shifted, uncomfortable but compelled by her words. Maybe they were starting to feel it too, the strings pulling them down, the desire to break free. As she spoke, she spotted Ivan on the edge of the gathering, his eyes filled with a mix of admiration and concern. Their connection, once just hollow conversations hovering over coffee mugs, was now entwined in shared courage. A new bond, steely and bright, formed before her eyes. Singing with hope, she couldn't help but think, maybe this was the future she dreamed of, a life lived without fear. But the disdainful whispers began to rise again. Look at her. Who does she think she is? The backlash was swift, a wave of resentment crashing over her moment of empowerment. Maria's heart sank. The struggle was real. Her family's fear loomed, porcelain fragile in the eyes of judgment. What about my kids? She thought frantically. She could almost hear their laughter turn into whispers that echoed back at her, taunting, "You chose this path, Maria." Now, it could all come crashing down. In that moment, the room felt crowded with hope and despair, each battling for dominance. Maria's vision narrowed on Ivan. He stood there, not as a symbol of an unreachable dream but as part of her story, her reality. Was he the bridge to something greater, or a path leading to disaster? Sometimes standing up means standing alone, whispered a motherly voice in her mind, reminding her of the sacrifices made for love and life. She inhaled deeply, breathing in the courage she borrowed from Ivan's steady gaze. If she backed down now, it would haunt her forever. And then, just as she thought she could harness the moment, a sharp voice from the crowd pealed through the tension like the crack of a whip. "What's your plan, Maria? You think you can change the way the world sees us? You're playing with fire." The threat lanced through the gathering, a stark reminder of the consequences she faced. Silence enveloped them, the tension crackling in the air. Maria's heart raced, battling confusion and determination. The double-edged sword of her decision cut sharply. Would she risk everything, not just for herself but for those who stood with her? The question hung heavy, determined to reshape everything she believed about herself and her choices. In this community divided by perceptions, was she truly prepared for the repercussions? Suddenly, Maria knew she had to choose. Taking a step forward, she whispered to herself, "What if my truth was what set us all free?" Just as she prepared to speak again, an unexpected figure emerged from the crowd, someone she never anticipated. Could this person change everything once more? The figure pushed through the crowd, every eye fixated on them as they stepped into the light. Maria's heart pounded, a mix of excitement and dread swirling inside her. It was Elena, a woman who had worked at the same community center, known for her soft-spoken demeanor and gentle smile. But today, something was different. The weariness that usually hung around her seemed momentarily lifted, replaced by a fierce determination that made the crowd buzz with curiosity. "Elena?" Maria called out, her voice trembling slightly. "What are you doing here?" Elena moved closer, brushing away the doubts in her mind. She stood by Maria, lifting her chin defiantly. "I came because I believe in what you're doing, Maria. We can't be afraid anymore." The crowd's chatter escalated, whispers of disbelief mingling with intrigue. Some faces showed appreciation, while others frowned skeptically. Maria's heart raced as Elena continued, her voice gaining strength. "I know what it's like to be judged. I've been there, too. I used to think that I was invisible, just a housekeeper, nothing more, nothing less. But we have stories to share, stories that matter. We are so much stronger together." Maria felt a surge of hope blossom within her, wrapping around her like a warm blanket. Could this be the moment they needed? The moment to unite their fractured community? But the unease still hung in the air like a storm cloud, and she knew they had to address it. "Look around us," Elena continued, her gaze sweeping over the crowd. "We talk about wanting change, but change starts with us. If we stand united, we can challenge the perceptions that bind us. We owe it to ourselves and to our families who rely on us to pave a new path." For a heartbeat, silence took hold, every person caught in the web of her words. Maria could see Ivan's expression shift into one of admiration, his eyes shining with pride. Hope seemed to ripple through the crowd, a whisper of agreement passing between faces, but then, a familiar voice broke the spell. "You're naive, Elena. You really think you can change anything?" It was Thomas, a community leader whose power loomed large. His arms crossed, his glare fierce. You'll only bring more trouble upon us. Maria felt the gasp of the crowd. Fear rippled among them as if their very foundation trembled. She glanced at Elena, who stood firm, undaunted. No, we won't let fear control us anymore. Elena shot back, her voice sharper than ever. What is the worst that could happen? Staying silent? We were born to speak up. Every time we step back, we lose a piece of our dignity. My children deserve better, your children do too. The crowd whispered amongst themselves, and Maria could feel the energy shift. She stepped closer to Elena, their hands brushing together in a gesture of solidarity. Let this be a turning point. Maria shouted, emboldened by Elena's fire. Let us rise up and show everyone that we're not just shadows in their lives. We are people with dreams, hopes, and the right to be heard. Suddenly, a murmur of approval swelled from the crowd, some voices rising in agreement. Maria's heart raced as she felt the possibility of something monumental about to unfold. But just then, a low rumble echoed from the back of the gathering. A figure in a dark coat loomed, casting an ominous shadow over the hopeful moment. Have you forgotten the price of speaking out? The words were laced with a threat, a cold reminder of the stakes at play. Maria's pulse quickened, fear clawing at her. Would they really face the consequences of this new path? What would happen next? She turned to Elena, their eyes locking in understanding. They could either retreat or dive headfirst into the fire. But fear or courage, their choices were about to reveal the truth that had been hidden for too long. Would this pivotal moment finally ignite the change they had all been yearning for? Or would the darkness silence them once more? The air crackled with tension, a palpable electricity that surged through the crowd. Maria felt the weight of every gaze, the silent judgment swirling like a storm above. The figure in the dark coat stood unwavering, their presence a harsh reminder of the reality they faced. Yet, amid the fear, Elena's words echoed in her heart. Stay strong. Maria shouted, rallying the crowd with newfound courage. She glanced at Elena, who stood resolute, her eyes aflame with purpose. We've been fighting shadows for too long, Elena continued, her voice slicing through the murmur of doubt. I won't be silenced. Not now. Not ever. The figure in the dark coat stepped closer, their expression hidden beneath a wide-brimmed hat. You sound righteous in theory, but you don't know the cost of standing against the tide, do you? Your families will suffer for your folly. Elena stepped forward, unflinching. Then let them. Let them see the strength that comes from standing together. Isn't it time we break the cycle of fear? Those who cower in silence are the ones who allow oppression to thrive. Maria felt a swell of admiration for Elena, her bravery ignited something deep within the crowd. Fists started to raise, quiet cheers emerging, like flames flickering in the wind. But the figure wouldn't back down. You're playing with fire. Their voice dropped dangerously low, barely above a whisper yet echoing ominously. Families will tear apart, and children will suffer because of your naive dreams. Or, Maria interjected, venturing into that uncertain space that lay between fear and hope, we could show them that solidarity is stronger than fear. Families will unite, and children will grow up knowing they can speak their truth without shame. The crowd surged around them, the atmosphere shifting as people stood taller, the shared heartbeat of hope resonating. Eyes glanced around, flickers of courage igniting in each person's gaze. But a wave of uncertainty crashed over Maria as she noticed Thomas whispering with a few others, eyes darting back to her and Elena, plotting in the shadows. Make no mistake, Thomas called out, voice steady, a facade of calm woven through his words. You'll regret this decision. You know very well what happens when people cross those who hold the power. A ripple of anxiety washed through the crowd again. Maria sensed the hesitance, the fragile unity hanging by a thread. She took a deep breath, her thoughts crystallizing. Our fears are real, Thomas, but so is our need for change. If we keep letting you and others like you hold power over our lives, what hope do our children have? Elena nodded in agreement, her firm stance beside Maria assuring. We can either let fear win, or we can build a future where we lift each other up. I refuse to worry about consequences if it means our voices can finally be heard. One by one, the crowd erupted in support, voices rising like a chorus singing in harmony. They were tired of being silenced, tired of living in shadows. But amid their rising strength, Maria felt a sense of foreboding. What if they acted too soon? What if this was just the spark that would ignite a fire no one could control? These questions raced through her mind as the figure in the dark coat finally stepped fully into the light, revealing a face she recognized, someone from her past, entwined with secrets that were better left buried. Maria, the figure said, voice calm yet charged, a chilling reminder of what lurked beneath the surface of their community. You have no idea what you're about to awaken. As the crowd quieted, a hush fell over them, the truth on the brink of being revealed. Would they uncover a hidden agenda that could change everything? Or would this revelation bind them tighter in fear, pulling them back into the darkness they sought to escape? Maria's heart raced as she searched the figure's face, the memories flooding back like a long-forgotten tide. She could feel the crowd's breath collectively held, the air thick with realization. This was not just a moment of confrontation, it was a reckoning. Jasper, she whispered, shock etched into her features. People in the crowd leaned in closer, straining to hear the exchange unfolding before them. Fear mingled with curiosity. He smiled, but it was a twisted, knowing smile that sent chills through her spine. Yes, Maria. It's been a long time. He stepped forward, a dark aura surrounding him, as if he drew on the very shadows to cloak his intentions. Why are you here? She demanded, her voice gaining strength against the tremor of disbelief. You vanished. We thought you were gone for good. I had my reasons, dear Maria. But let us focus on the present, shall we? You've stirred quite the wave with your little rally here. His tone was honeyed, but the threat lingered beneath the surface. And it seems you've underestimated the stakes. You don't scare us, Jasper. Elena said, finding her voice amid the tension. We've come too far to cower now. The crowd began to murmur again, rising and falling like waves breaking against the shore. What do you know about fear? Someone shouted from the back. You left without a word. Jasper's gaze swept across the crowd, a calculated move of intimidation. It seems I'm not the only one with a past, is that right? He directed his words to Maria, but they landed on everyone. Each of you holds secrets, whispers of dissent that could ruin you if anyone were to find out. Panic flickered in some eyes, but a steely resolve only strengthened Elena's stance. No more secrets. We're done living in shadows. Her defiance blazed bright, igniting rekindled courage within the people around her. What do you think will happen if you keep pushing? Jasper's voice was low, almost inviting. You think you control this narrative? The truth is a weapon far more powerful than the bravado you display here. What truth? Maria challenged, fists clenched at her sides. Is it the truth of your betrayal? Of the lies that bound you to our community only to let us rot in the darkness? For a moment, the world stood still. Silence hung heavy, as if the air itself was waiting for the next spark. Jasper's face darkened, but there was a flicker of amusement in his eyes. Ah, the ever-hopeful Maria. What if I told you that my betrayal was merely the prelude to something far greater? What could be greater than the lives of our families? Maria spat, anger propelled by adrenaline. What is this darkness you cling to? He stepped closer, and the crowd instinctively recoiled. A bond, Maria. You had no idea who truly runs this place, do you? Who shapes the very fabric of our lives when the curtain falls? With a sudden shift, he pointed into the crowd, zeroing in on an older woman, dread twisting Maria's insides. That one, for example. Her family's root runs deeper than you know, entangled in a web of alliances that span decades. Yours too, if you really wish to peel back the layers. A gasp echoed through the gathering, fear rippling as they began to shift away from one another, each searching for someone to blame. Confusion and doubt crept back into the previously ignited courage. No. We can't let this divide us. Elena called out, but shadows of fear were already taking hold like vines suffocating the light. Maria felt the weight of every harsh word twist in her gut. This was no longer merely a confrontation. It was an emotional landmine, one that could shatter the very foundation they had tried to build. Desperation clawed at her as she turned to the crowd. We've come too far together to let fear claim us again. We won't be fractured by lies. But would the bond they shared hold amidst the revelations? As she looked into the faces of her neighbors, uncertainty clouded their resolve, each slippery secret threatened to pull them apart. Would they find their way through this darkness? Or would the truth become an insurmountable barrier? Pushing them back into silence, Jasper stepped back, satisfied. Remember, Maria, the truth may set you free, but it can also ensnare you tighter than any chain. As he turned to blend back into the shadows, a chilling question hung in the air. What other truths were waiting to be unearthed, lurking just beneath the surface of their fragile unity? Maria's heart thudded in her chest as she tried to process Jasper's parting words. The weight of his threat lingered, heavy and suffocating. She could sense the tension rippling through the crowd, their earlier confidence waning like the evening sun. It felt as if a dark cloud had descended, casting shadows over the faces she knew so well. Stay together. Elena's voice broke through the fog of anxiety. We've fought for this. We can't let fear dictate who we are. But as Maria scanned the crowd, she noticed glances exchanging like secrets. It was as if each individual started to question not just Jasper's revelations but their own trust in one another. The tighter grip of unity began to fray at the edges, and Maria could feel despair creeping in. Jasper's just trying to tear us apart, she said, forcing herself to sound resolute. We can't give him that power. Yet doubt gnawed at her insides. What if Jasper knew more than they could grapple with? What if the roots of their community were intertwined in ways they simply couldn't comprehend? She thought of the older woman Jasper had pointed out, whose family history felt laden with mysteries now threatening to unravel. Elena Maria hesitated, her voice a whisper against the rising murmurs of the crowd. What if he's right? What if there are things we don't know? Things that could change everything? Elena stepped closer, her fierce gaze unwavering. And what if we stand strong against him? Fear thrives on lies and uncertainties. We have to confront this together, not run away from it. But how? Maria's stomach twisted painfully. By confronting the very people we trust? By opening old wounds? Maybe it's time those wounds healed, Elena replied, a hint of determination brightening her eyes. But we can't do that if we fracture now. The crowd shifted uneasily, still caught in a tempest of fear and doubt. And then, to Maria's utter disbelief, a voice rose from the back. It was the older woman Jasper had singled out. I always thought my family's past didn't concern anyone else. But maybe we need to talk about it. Gasps rippled through the crowd, but Maria saw something else resolve, a glimmer of strength emerging from shared vulnerability. She took a step forward, emboldened by the woman's courage. Then let us talk. Maria called out to the crowd. If we have secrets, let us share them. Not as a way to hurt, but as a way to heal. Let us turn Jasper's game against him. The murmur of uncertainty began to shift into a more resonant hum, a spark flickering in the air. Faces began to brighten with the possibility of connection rather than division. Seeing that spark ignited something inside Maria, a comfort amid chaos, but Jasper's shadow loomed still. The air crackled with an urgency that made her blood sing. We have to find out what happened all those years ago. What was Jasper a part of, deep down? We can't afford to let old ties keep us in bondage. Elena nodded, a newfound fire igniting in her eyes. Yes. We'll stand united. But we need to act quickly. As they began to rally around Maria's sentiment, a sound caught everyone's attention. It was a crash from the town hall where Jasper had stood just moments before. A large figure stumbled out, breathless and wild-eyed. The crowd instinctively parted, and Maria's heart dropped at the sight that it was David, a local who had seen more than anyone realized. His chest heaved, sweat shining on his forehead. "You need to listen," he shouted, voice cracking as he fought to catch his breath. "I know things about Jasper, things about the truth," he threatened. "You need to know before it's too late." The crowd fell silent, anxiety replaced by a tense expectancy. Maria's breath caught in her throat. What truths lay on the tip of David's tongue? Would they change everything? This was at the moment when they could tip the scales, find a strength forged in honesty. But as she looked into the darkness gathering all around, anticipation twisted into fear. What awaited them from David's revelation? Would uncovering the truth bind them tighter, or could it shatter them for good? David took a step closer to the crowd, his breath coming in ragged gasps. The weight of his words hung in the air like a storm cloud, dark and foreboding. He wasn't just out of breath, he looked haunted, as if each revelation could pull him deeper into a chasm he'd just barely escaped. "Listen please," he begged, his eyes darting from face to face. "What I'm about to tell you goes back years, to something even Jasper can't control. He wants to divide us, but he doesn't realize how strong we really are." Maria's heart raced. Could David's truth really provide them with the answers they needed? Or would it deepen the fractures already forming? She glanced at Elena, who met her gaze with a blend of concern and determination. There was no backing down now. "David, please," Elena urged, stepping forward. "What do you know?" With a shaky hand, David wiped the sweat from his brow. "Jasper, he is tied to something bigger than just our community. His family, my family, it's all intertwined. We've been linked through generations, through choices made in shadows." A low murmur spread through the crowd. Maria felt the churning inside her stomach tighten. "You mean his family and yours? But how?" "Years ago, there was a betrayal," David explained, his voice low, almost conspiratorial. "Our families were once allies until greed drove a wedge between us. Jasper's family claimed things that they weren't entitled to, and they spun a web of lies to protect their interests. It's part of what makes him dangerous. He knows what we all could lose. Why should we believe you?" A voice called from the crowd, skepticism threading through it like a dark ribbon. It was a familiar face, someone Maria had always thought was on their side. "Because I'm tired of living in fear," David shouted, a fire igniting in his words. "I risked everything to come out here today because I know how tough this community can be. If we stand together, we can face this. But we need to uncover the truth, every ounce of it. What does this mean for us?" Another voice chimed in, a worried expression flickering across their features. "What if we open wounds that never heal?" Maria felt the tension in her veins. "But what if we're already broken? What if dealing with the past now can make us stronger for the future?" She stepped closer to David, a feeling of solidarity lifting her fears a notch. "Exactly," David said, nodding. "The only way to set ourselves free is to confront it. We've been living in the shadow of fears that were born from lies. If we bring that darkness into the light, we have a chance. It's not just about Jasper anymore, it's about us. All of us." Slowly, heads began to nod around the circle, an undercurrent of agreement weaving through the crowd. They were weary but willing. Maria sensed it. The ripple of courage was gaining momentum. "Let us investigate together," Elena suggested. "Let us not let this ruin us, but instead, use it as a strength to pull us closer." Maria's breath caught again, this time mingled with hope. Maybe they could do this. They could confront the unknown together. Then, just as she felt a swell of reassurance, a shout broke through the air, sharp and commanding. You think you can stand against me? Jasper's voice sliced through the moment, cutting straight to the heart of their resolve. The crowd turned, eyes wide in shock that he stood there, dark and menacing, a figure of chaos enveloped in shadows. I am the keeper of this secret. And you? You will regret opening that door. You have no idea what you're dealing with. As the unease settled back into the air like a dust cloud, Maria's heart raced. What had they unleashed? All at once, it was clear David's revelation was just the beginning, and Jasper's threat hung heavy over them all. They needed to prepare for what was coming. Who will you really trust? Jasper's taunting words echoed in the depths of her mind as she stood her ground. But could they face the truth together, or would fear once again drive them apart? The crowd stood frozen, the air thick with a mix of dread and uncertainty. Maria felt her heart pound in her chest, each beat echoing the intensity of the moment. Jasper's presence darkened the space, his eyes glinting with a dangerous mixture of arrogance and confidence. Do you really want to get involved in things you don't understand? He sneered, taking a step forward. The eyes of the crowd flitted between him and David, searching for answers, looking for a leader to follow. David took a deep breath and stepped back slightly, unsure. What do you mean, Jasper? He asked, his voice faltering under the weight of apprehension. Jasper chuckled, low and sinister. It's simple. You're playing with fire, David. Do you think bringing up ancient family feuds will save you? It's only going to set the match. Maria's resolve flickered for a moment. What if Jasper was right? The past was a monster, and they were but moths drawn to its flame. Could they truly face the truth without being consumed by it? Or maybe this is the moment we finally step out of those shadows. Elena shouted, her voice ringing with defiance. We're tired of being scared, Jasper. You've manipulated us long enough. Jasper narrowed his eyes, the corner of his mouth curling into a smirk. You think it's that simple? You want the truth? Fine. But truth comes with cost. He surveyed the crowd, his gaze calculating. You think you know what you're fighting for, but most of you have no idea what's really at stake. The tension in the air thickened as murmurs rippled through the crowd. Fear mingled with hope, creating an unsettling balance. But Maria felt a flicker of something else, a determination, a spark ignited by the courage surrounding her. What do you fear more, Jasper? Maria's voice cut through the chaos, strong and steady. The past or the unity we're willing to stand for now? Something shifted in Jasper's expression, the facade cracking just a bit. Unity? You think that will protect you? He spat, taking another step forward. You're children playing a dangerous game. She met his gaze, unflinching. We're ready to be adults, Jasper. We won't let you manipulate us anymore. The words felt empowering, each syllable a tiny victory in the charge against fear. One by one, the faces around her softened with newfound conviction. They were ready to confront the shadows that had loomed over them for too long. It wouldn't be easy, but Maria could see a flicker of belief igniting in her friend's eyes. They stood together. Let us not let fear dictate our future, David urged, suffused with a sense of purpose. We'll find the truth together. Jasper scoffed, crossing his arms. What makes you think you'll even survive the truth? You might just find out things you wish you never knew. It was a threat, heavy and fraught with implications. Yet, in that moment of defiance, Maria felt something shift within her. They weren't just facing the wrath of Jasper, they were choosing to reclaim their power, to rewrite their narrative. Whatever it takes, she said, her voice stronger than it had ever felt. We want the truth. It's our time to fight back. The people around her cheered, a wave of solidarity washing over the group. But even as hope swelled in her chest, a gnawing fear lingered. What if Jasper's words were true? What if confronting their past unleashed chaos they weren't ready to handle? Just as the crowd moved toward unity, Jasper turned on his heel, casting one last scrutinizing glance over his shoulder. Then so be it. Remember, I warned you. With that, He melted back into the shadows from whence he came, the air around them charged with more questions than answers. Maria's heart raced. Were they truly prepared for what lay ahead? The faces around her, filled with determination, were reassuring, yet unease nipped at the edges of her mind. What secrets remained buried? And would unraveling them bring peace, or create an even deeper divide? With a palpable sense of anticipation hanging in the air, they readied themselves to dig deeper than ever before. As David stepped forward, ready to lead, Maria couldn't shake one lingering thought: what awaited them in the truth they sought could change everything. The crowd buzzed with an electrifying energy, yet uncertainty lingered like a dark cloud overhead. Maria looked around at her friends. Their faces were a canvas of determination mixed with fear. She felt it too, the tightness in her chest that refused to let go. What if the truth did tear them apart? David took charge, rallying their spirits. We need to meet at the old mill tomorrow. It'll be a safe place to talk and uncover everything. His voice echoed the hope buried deep within them. Elena nodded, her expression fierce. We've got to stay united. If we fall apart now, we let Jasper win. I can't believe he dares to threaten us like that, one of the onlookers said, shaking his head. Doesn't he know we're stronger than he thinks? Maria felt that strength surge within her too. It felt like a fire igniting, ready to burn away the shadows of their past. Whatever it is, we face it together, she echoed. We'll stand firm, no matter what lies ahead. As the group began to disperse, Maria lingered, her heart racing with apprehension. The darkness that Jasper had conjured was far too real, and the weight of their collective history was heavier than she'd imagined. Are you okay? David stepped beside her, concern etched on his face. She could only nod, the words trapped in her throat. She hadn't expected the emotional toll this confrontation would take. Just thinking about everything we might discover. Do you think we're really ready? He sighed, running a hand through his hair. I want to believe we can face it. But fear can twist the truth, you know. We can't let that happen. His eyes searched hers. We need to trust each other. Maria felt a tremor of fear mixed with certainty. I trust you, David. We'll figure this out together. As they walked away from the gathering, the sky above them darkened, swirling clouds promising a storm. The wind picked up, causing Maria to shudder. It felt like an omen, signifying that their past was about to clash violently with the present. That night, Maria tossed and turned in bed, her thoughts racing. Images of Jasper's sneer haunted her. What was the cost of the truth? A part of her wanted to shrink away, to avoid the confrontation, yet another part pulsed with anticipation. Could they emerge stronger? Or would the unveiling of their history tear them apart? Deciding she needed clarity, Maria grabbed her notebook, filled with scribbles about family trees, old photographs, and whispered secrets. As she flicked through the pages, she stumbled upon a section she hadn't reviewed in a while, a list of names linked to her family that seemed trivial at the moment. In the corner of the page, a single name stood out, Anastasia Ivanova, the name of the housekeeper her grandmother often mentioned. Was it mere coincidence? Or did it hold the key to their mysterious ties with Jasper's family? Heart pounding, she scribbled, connecting the dots frantically. The pieces of a puzzle she didn't even know existed began to align in her mind. As the clock struck midnight, Maria felt that she was on the verge of discovery. What if, she whispered to herself, this secret could change everything? Suddenly, her phone buzzed softly on the bedside table. Her heart skipped a beat as she reached for it. A message flashed across the screen. David wanted to talk. She took a deep breath. Maybe he knows something, she thought. The feeling of urgency mashed with hope swirled within her, and she knew this night was going to keep unfolding in ways she couldn't predict. What else had been hidden? And would the truth ultimately bring them together or tear their fragile unity apart? With that chilling question lingering, Maria felt the weight of the unknown pressing down, and she knew tomorrow could change everything. The sun rose the next morning, painting the sky in shades of gold and amber, but it did little to ease the storm brewing in Maria's heart. The weight of the previous day's revelations hung heavy in the air, and she could feel the unsteady pulse of uncertainty in every fiber of her being. Today was the day they would meet at the old mill, the place where secrets would tumble out, and truths would be faced head-on. As she prepared, Maria clutched the notebook tightly, the pages filled with frayed hopes and tangled family histories. She glanced at the names she had meticulously connected, each one a thread weaving through time. Anastasia Ivanova. It felt like a key. But a key to what? The anticipation tangled with fear. What if it led to pain and heartbreak? At the old mill, the atmosphere was electric with tension. Friends gathered in scattered groups, their faces painted with hope and uncertainty. David stood near the entrance, a calm center in the whirlwind of emotions fluttering around them. Elena was by his side, her expression fierce, emboldened by resolve. Maria walked up to them, her heart thumping loudly in her chest. "Are we ready for this?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. David nodded. "We have to be. We owe it to ourselves." As they all stepped inside, the soft rustle of trees and the creaking of the old structure echoed their retreat from the world outside. Maria was struck by how the mill had stood through storms, through sunlight almost like a mirror to their situation. "Okay, everyone," David began, raising his voice to capture attention. "This is our moment to confront the past. We can't let fear dictate our futures any longer." "You're right." Elena chimed in, eyes shining with grit. "Every story we uncover brings us closer, no matter how hard it is." A murmur ran through the group, stirring hope like wind across the surface of a still lake. Maria felt a surge of warmth as hands began to clasp with a spirit of unity. One by one, people opened up about their stories, the whispers of grandparents, fraught histories of family entanglements. Each voice was a step toward healing old wounds. The older woman who had spoken yesterday recounted her family's ties to Housekeeper'S, revealing a long-standing rivalry that had festered below the surface. Maria listened intently, her 6-year-old daughter's laughter echoing in her memory, fueling her resolve. Then, it was Maria's turn. She took a deep breath. "There's something I've been investigating. It might shed light on our connection to Jasper and why he seeks to divide us." The crowd hushed, a palpable silence falling over them. "I found a name, Anastasia Ivanova. She was a housekeeper from my family's past. There are links to Jasper's family, something more profound than I realized." Gasps punctuated the room as murmurs began, voices intertwining like threads in a fabric. "What if this gives us the power to reclaim our story? What if it proves that we're not isolated, but part of a bigger journey?" Elena suggested. "Yes," David exclaimed, the fire in his eyes rekindled. "Together, we can face Jasper. We can't let him control our narrative." As the conversation picked up steam, more people shared their fears and hopes. Maria felt the warmth of community wrap around her, lifting her spirit from the brink of despair to the cusp of determination. They were bound not just by the struggles in their stories, but by the strength of standing up for one another. And then, just as laughter began to mingle with tears, the door creaked open, disrupting the moment. Jasper stood framed in the light, a dark silhouette that cut through the camaraderie like a knife, smirk playing on his lips. "Have you come to play?" he sneered, eyes glinting with malice. The air shifted, his presence casting a shadow over the room once more. "We're done cowering. Today, we stand united," Maria shouted, feeling the warmth of her friends pressing forward beside her. Jasper's confident facade faltered just a moment, and she seized it. "You think you can manipulate us? We're ready to unearth every truth, every secret." Suddenly, jaws clenched and shoulders straightened. The people behind her were not just frightened shadows, they were fierce allies. "You're playing with fire, Maria. Some secrets are better left hidden," Jasper said, voice steady but revealing a hint of uncertainty. "Then let us see just how strong our fire can burn." Maria shot back, the embers of courage igniting within her. With the support of the community behind her, every word became a shield, fortifying their bond. Ignited with newfound courage, she pressed forward. You may want to control our narrative, Jasper, but we can write our own stories now. The defiance that surged around them felt like a tidal wave, washing away doubts. There was no turning back. This was their moment of transformation, fear shrinking away in the face of unity and unyielding spirit, and with that, Maria felt something shift within her. She stood not just as a housekeeper or a mother but as a voice for change, a beacon of strength for her community. Today, they were not merely uncovering the past, they were rewriting their futures. As the darkness of Jasper's shadow loomed, they faced it together, hearts aligned for the battle ahead. Together, they were not afraid to shine. This was their metamorphosis, a testimony of resilience. And as hope unfurled within her heart, Maria could not help but smile. She had chosen to embrace the power of their truths, intertwining their destinies into a brighter narrative than any of them had dared to dream. Now was her time to embrace the unfolding destiny of their shared story. This is the moment they would forever remember, the day they rose from the ashes, alive with possibility, hands clasped together against the storm. You need to subscribe now to witness this incredible journey unfold. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button and let us feed this algorithm. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to spread this message of unity and strength. Comment below with your feelings about this empowering conclusion.